Joker 2019, Todd Phillips's Joker quickly became a cultural phenomenon, with its underlying message being straightforward: a system that ignores, oppresses, and rejects people, turns them into monsters. It's a scathing critique of social indifference and the lack of mental health care that resonates with contemporary society. However, the true depth of its message lies in its subtle yet masterful use of color. The color palette of Arthur Fleck's suit and surroundings is no accident. It directly reflects his mental state and its evolution. Initially, Arthur favors dull grays and browns. The green in his suit hints at poison, illness, but also at his fading hope for a happy life, as he often wears a green vest while still trying to be a clown. Yellow, a symbol of instability, danger, anxiety, and mania, is the color of his shirt, which turns bright yellow at key moments. Red is pure chaos, blood, and the final rejection of his human self. With each stage of his decline and transition to the Joker, the colors become more saturated and aggressive. When Arthur first emerges from his Fleck persona, dancing on the stairs, he is completely adorned in the colors of chaos, symbolizing that psychosis has become his true, liberating essence. It's a masterclass in the use of color as a psychological and narrative marker, speaking louder than words. Get Out 2017, Jordan Peele's horror film, Get Out, has an obvious yet stunningly poignant message. Racism hasn't disappeared. It's simply taken on a new, more insidious and systemic form, hiding behind a mask of liberalism and ostentatious tolerance. But Peele is interested in how exactly this power and oppression is exercised on the everyday level. What's hidden? All white dishes, a perfectly maintained yet sterile interior, the symmetrical architecture of the house. All of this symbolizes total control, surgical cleanliness, and the absolute power of the white privileged class. The central symbol of this control is the famous teaspoon and cup, used for hypnosis. Tea drinking is not just a ritual, it is an instrument of subjugation, exploiting a fragile bourgeois setting to commit the most brutal act of all, the theft and subjugation of the individual. The contrast between purity and horror, between polite manners and barbaric intentions, makes the film a piercing commentary on the hidden systemic forms of racial oppression. Chris, trapped in the chair, is a visual symbol of age-old fear and helplessness in the face of invisible power. Parasite 2019, Bong Joon-ho's Oscar-winning Parasite is a scathing commentary on class conflict and the impossibility of crossing social boundaries for the lower classes. The rich and the poor essentially live in separate worlds, the gulf between them unbridgeable. What's hidden? The film's primary structural symbol is architecture and vertical space. The staircases, leading down to the Kim's basement, then to the cellar beneath the house, and finally up to the park's luxurious villa, are more than just decorative elements. They are a powerful symbol of class division and hierarchy. The people living below, wet and filthy, are forced to look up, literally and metaphorically, and the rich, living at the top, will never descend and see their lives. The most subtle, yet cruelest marker of status is smell. The basement odor that permeates the poor becomes an invisible but insurmountable barrier, sensed instinctively and with revulsion by the wealthy class. This underscores the point. Even if a poor person is dressed in expensive clothes, their origins are betrayed by their body, denying them the opportunity to become one of us. Black Swan 2010. Darren Aronofsky's drama Black Swan is on the surface about a ballerina who destroys her identity in a mad pursuit of artistic perfection. But her inner conflict, her psychosis, and schizophrenia are played out on screen through brilliant visuals. What's hidden? Mirrors, black and white tones, and doubles are not just props, but a powerful metaphor for Nina Sayers's internal struggle. The mirrors multiply her identity, revealing that she is struggling not with a competitor, but with herself, with her repressed, dark, and sexual side, which is necessary to play the role of the Black Swan. The film's entire aesthetic is built on the contrast between the pure, innocent, and fragile white swan and the passionate, destructive black swan, symbolizing that to achieve art, one must die and be reborn, sacrificing one's psyche and morality. The cracks, feathers, and spots that appear on her skin are a visualization of internal decay and ultimate transformation. She achieves perfection only at the moment when her personality completely disappears. The Matrix 1999. The Matrix 1999 is more than just a sci-fi action film. It is a call for awareness, for liberation from a false, imposed reality. It is an allegory about awakening and the difficulty of accepting painful truths. What's hidden? The Wachowski sisters, in addition to obvious references to Platonic and Eastern philosophy, used subtle visual symbolism, Code green is not just a title card, it is a visual symbol of the digital, toxic illusion that covers everything a person sees in the Matrix. Even the buildings often have a green tint. Mirrors in this world are always portals and transition points between worlds, from the Matrix to reality and back. Furthermore, Neo himself is an anagram of one, and his last name, Anderson, literally means son of man, referencing the biblical archetype of the savior. And the choice of the red or blue pill isn't just a plot twist, but a reference to the archetype of the hero who chooses the painful truth over a convenient lie. The Truman Show, 1998. The Truman Show is perhaps the kindest, yet most insightful critique of the media, reality TV, and what we call reality. The message: our lives can be a carefully orchestrated production, and our choices an illusion imposed by someone above. What's hidden? Director Peter Weir uses symbolism to emphasize the artificiality of Truman's world and its prison-like nature. The sun is a huge spotlight illuminating the set. The perfect but false ocean is the boundary of the dome, which Truman is not allowed to cross. And the most cynical and disturbing detail is the unobtrusive, organically integrated advertisement in the dialogue. Characters, including his wife and best friend, constantly spout advertising slogans at the most inopportune moments, emphasizing that everyone around him is simply a paid actor, and every element of his life is monetized. When Truman smiles against the backdrop of the dome, he's not happy, he's the top actor on the world's biggest reality show, and this is his escape from a prison that pretended to be paradise. Midsommar, 2019. Ari Aster's Midsommar appears to be a simple horror film about a strange Swedish cult and its terrifying rituals, but in reality, it is a psychological drama about the birth of a new identity through the ritual, violent destruction of the old. It is a story of codependency, trauma, and the acceptance of tragedy. What's hidden? The entire film is one big, complex, encrypted clue. The frescoes and tapestries we see at the beginning of the film are not just folkloric elements, they literally show the viewer the entire ending, from ritual sex to the final sacrifice. This is a hint that the hero's fate is already sealed. The symbolism of white and endless sunlight masks the horror, death, and human sacrifice, making the cult seem attractive, pure, and harmonious, which confuses the viewer. The film uses folkloric imagery to show that Dani's trauma and loneliness were so profound that she embraced the ritual deaths of her friends as therapy, finding a new, albeit destructive family. Her smile at the end is a smile of liberation from an old, unbearable life. Donnie Darko, 2001. Donnie Darko isn't just a fantasy film, it's a profound philosophical thriller that, on the surface, is about a strange teenager and time travel. Underneath, it's a story about accepting fate, predestination, and the chaos that rules the world. What's hidden? Frank the Rabbit isn't just a horror mascot, but a complex symbol. He's the guide in a parallel timeline, simultaneously symbolizing guilt, Donnie kills him, and fate, leading the hero to his inevitable, selfless end. Mirrors and reflections throughout the film serve as reminders of a parallel reality, the possibility of alternative choices that don't actually exist, and Donnie's dual personality. The film is a tragic cycle. Donnie, realizing his place, and that saving him would disrupt the course of events, sacrifices himself by letting the engine crash in order to save a world that doesn't understand him. Fight Club, 1999. We've already discussed Fight Club as a critique of consumer society, but its most subtle and ingenious undercurrent lies in its visual editing and direction. What's hidden? Director David Fincher doesn't just wait for the dramatic reveal of Tyler Durden's identity, he subconsciously prepares the audience for it. Tyler appears in shots a split second before his formal introduction, as a fleeting, barely noticeable image on screen. These phantom, subliminal shots are a visual symbol of Tyler already living in the narrator's mind, influencing him and being a constant presence. Furthermore, logos of brands that Tyler demonstratively hates are constantly flashing throughout scenes, from clothing to advertising. These logos aren't just backdrops, they're visual symbols of addiction, obsession with consumer culture, and the fact that even Tyler's rebellion is, in essence, part of the same system he's trying to destroy. It's a subtle play on the viewer's perception. The Shining, 1980. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is more than just a horror film about a haunted hotel. It's a multi-layered, disturbingly profound exploration of isolation, guilt, madness, and the dark history of America. What's hidden? The deepest layer is a commentary on U.S. history and collective guilt. The number 237, which was 217 in the book, is, according to some theories, a reference to the distance to the moon, hinting at the hoaxes Kubrick was accused of, or his obsession with detail. The carpet patterns and geometric lines are symbols of the labyrinth in which Jack Nicholson loses his psyche and into which his son is lured. A darker meaning is tied to the hotel's history. Many critics believe Kubrick used metaphors of the Holocaust, a teletype-like machine for lists, and the colonization of America, as hinted at by the Native American patterns and paintings, as well as the US flag, which are constantly present in the frame, linking Jack's personal madness to the dark past of the country itself. Jack isn't simply going mad, he embodies the dark, historical forces that the hotel has absorbed from its brutal history and which are destroying the family. Conclusion: each of these films leaves more behind the scenes than they reveal. They use color, architecture, minute details, and psychological symbols to construct a second, invisible layer of meaning. Sometimes directors don't reveal the meaning, they encrypt it, turning viewing into an intellectual adventure. The only question is whether you'll notice it yourself or accept the reality you're being shown. This is the true greatness of cinema, when it makes us think, search, and rewatch. Which of these films made you feel like you'd uncovered a secret? Share your guesses in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so we can continue our dive into the world of hidden cinematic meanings. See you soon.